I don't think I can put into words how much I enjoyed the new chapters of Deltarune. I was nervous going in, but as soon as the feature presentation started, I knew that this would be something I would enjoy. Chapter 3 is filled with my exact type of humor and offers great replayability, while Chapter 4 really ups the stakes, offering us a look at the bigger picture by moving threats that everyone assumed would be endgame to the halfway point, but making them just as threatening as people expected, making people ask how any of this could possibly be topped. These two chapters cemented Deltarune as my new favorite game, and that's not just recency bias speaking. In case you were wondering, my previous favorite game was Mother 3. It's really good, you should play it. And just in case this all seems normal again since the couple months that this game has been out, I'll just give you a little reminder. The final boss of Chapter 4 is a Titan, an entity that was unanimously assumed to show up in the end game, has an angelic form, shoots a big freaking laser from its head that does like 100 damage to the entire party, eats its children to regenerate, and was summoned by the knight who showed up like an entire chapter prior. It's a lot to take in. So I found myself asking if there was any way we could have predicted any of this, or if Toby only plans on showing us things that'll make sense given context, but would be hopeless to decipher without. Anyone else remember Omega Icy theory? And so, I came to the Spamton Sweepstakes, the central hub for the majority of Deltarune speculation pre-chapters 3 and 4, and a realization came to me. The Spamton Sweepstakes gave us clues to Chapter 3 events that we didn't even notice, and when they came out, Chapter 5 was planned to release alongside 3 and 4, which made me realize that there could be so many more secrets hidden in this ARG that we originally didn't have context for. But now, we have two big Deltarune chapter-shaped puzzle pieces that might just give us the context that we need to uncover secrets that if chapters 3, 4, and 5 released together, we wouldn't have had a hope in decoding. Now, join me as I scrape apart this charity fundraiser for the smallest of details because as we've learned, no matter how minute it may be, there's always something there. We'll be going through the sweepstakes from top to bottom, following the original order of when these pages were first revealed, covering any stuff from Spamton Sweepstakes 2 along the way as well. It'd be great if you could like this video since I spent a while on it and I want it to do well. Starting at the top, we have... oh crap, how do I voice this? The other night I went down to eat leftover pizza, but when I went down it was dark and I couldn't find the switch and I saw Ice-E on the box and he winked at me, I screamed. Only my sister believes me. Story update! My sister burned the box in the grass to kill it and it smelled like charcoal pizza. She burned out Ice-E eyes and he looked evil and as he said took it and said we should bury the box and Chris dug a hole in the ground in the graveyard and I was so scared a zombie would come up and I tried to say Chris I'm scared and they turned around with a box over their face and I screamed so Des hit them and took it away and threw it away and I think it's going to come kill me. Absolute cinema. Alright, let's unpack. Okay, so this name drops Burning Eyes, the mantle battle theme from Chapter 3. Somehow, this will be a recurring theme going forward. There's also the whole Des page, which I don't think very many people thought would be foreshadowing for Chapter 4. It seems that all teasers in this event were for Chapters 3, 4, and possibly 5, although we wouldn't know since that chapter hasn't come out yet. Point is, none of this seems very endgame. Also, this confirms that Noelle has eaten leftover pizza, despite being rich enough to keep dozens of plastic bottles in her fridge. Then, there's the door minigame, which can give you several different prizes depending on what you click. These prizes being a genuine Rouse plush, a single Pippus, the ball prize machine, hey, anyone else remember Omega Icy theory? Again? A cropped image of the Superbad Wikipedia page, and finally, the nefarious friend chair. Next up, of course, it's the one, the only, green room. The green room's design here looks very different from its final design, as it lacks the animated walls, is missing a couple doors, and lacks several key details, such as the RAMB wording on Ram's shop, and caution tape on the right door. Also, what's that platter doing where the door should be? Of course, clicking on doors leads to various other websites. The left door leads to the Weather Duo, and they play the beginning of Vapor Buster when clicked on. Water cooler foreshadowing. The right door leads to the TV, which is still off. I remember when this first released, people thought that the TV would turn on before the release of Chapter 3. It didn't. Considering this door leads to the temp boss fight, and where Tenna meets his fate, the TV being off might have been a bit more symbolic than we thought. The middle door leads to the room with the #1 Shadow Guy quote of Deltarune Chapter 3. Because this takes place in the S room in the final game, it might mean that the S rank room was originally planned to be the only rank-based room, or that all the rank rooms were planned to be one larger room. It could also be that the developers just didn't want to spoil the rank gimmick, as that might have given away a bit too much. We know that details like this have been omitted in teasers before, so with all things considered, that might be the most likely explanation. However, there's a small chance for the Shadow Guy to be replaced with an 8-bit Lancer, who has a similar interaction to the Weather Duo. How none of us tied this into 8-bit video games, I do not know. This has got to be the biggest detail that was just handed to us, and we completely missed it. Finally, added in the Silence update is Ram's shop, which reveals some hints towards the Shadow Mantle, and has an alternate reaction if you interact with a quick-moving black box, which drops a Zelda quote, further hinting to the secret boss. Toby really gave me a massive hint, and I looked it straight on and said, "Us? Us, you say? Sounds like this secret boss has a friend inside them." Always been on Friend Inside Me 2026. Looking for a way to max out your TP? Yes, Spamton, how do you know? What can I do this? Oh. So this might be referencing the Tension Max, an unused item from Chapter 2 that became usable in Chapter 3. This isn't something new for Chapter 3 either, as the pink ribbon was also unused in Chapter 1, despite being added in Chapter 2. The link leads to this. This could either mean nothing, or it could be an extra cryptic hint towards Chapter 5. Because of the Lancer page having extreme relevance, I'm inclined to believe the latter. Not sure what it could mean though. If you have any ideas, please let me know. The main attraction of this page is bluebubble.rodeo, which is a link hidden on a piece of toilet paper, of all things. It led to a website which teased the cowboy segment of Chapter 3, and perhaps something else. Look, I'm just saying that we never saw these outfits from the front. They could be used again for all we know. Anyways, the text over here about painful modification makes me think of something happening to Chris to put our soul in them, but I could just be overthinking all this. The Champion Belt also has a now broken link that leads to a teaser for the Hall of Fame track. Heh. Sans. The nation's most popular car, Congadero, now with its own one-of-a-kind final warning sign after the rest, where remember, if you show this warning sign in your back window and they don't let you cross, you have the legal right to run them down. Alright, play the clip.
Driving in my car right after a beat.
Next is the Cookie of Boy, which leads to the Lancer page, just in case you missed it before. This is the last link before the big teasers start being shown, so before we move on to that section, I'd like to ask you to subscribe if you haven't, and you want to see more Deltarune Theory videos like this one. Thank you. The Frosted Cereal Box is the first of many items to link to Noelle's blog. This part of her blog talks about the complex breeding system of cat petters, and the side effects that modding can have on this part of the game. That's nice and all, but the real lore here is that Noelle's teacher made a bod pack based on the Spamtons, and Noelle has no idea. It's like she's in some king of double life. This site also has an audio file attached to it, which is like a friend inside me was dipped in acid. Yes, I am well aware that Woody Theory came after this, but it's funny. Then, there's a link that leads to a less cheerful page, this time about Noelle's strange experience with an egg. It's white, not blue, which is a distinction that must be made. This doesn't seem to have been resolved yet, and because chapters 3, 4, and 5 were planned to come out together when this page was released, it is highly likely that this is foreshadowing for chapter 5. While I've already seen theories that this egg hatched into Friend, given the luck motif, the happiness mention, and Friend very likely being a cat from Cat Petters, before, we thought that Friend would be a character in Chapter 3. However, this seems like it might be pointing towards a Chapter 5 reveal, especially when you factor in the literal field of pink and gold. I have plenty of theories about Friend, ones that might be a bit controversial, but I think I'll save those for another day. Moving on to the guest book link, we have... Not only was this used in that Friend Inside Me song, but for some reason, people also thought that this was Raise Up Your Bat, due to it being a piece of music used on the same page where Noelle said she was listening to a song called Raise Up Your Bat. I love looking back a few months and remembering how wrong we all truly were. Hey, at least we weren't as wrong as we were in the Chapter 1 days. I'm not Ramsay, but I'm Asriel! This clue counter here also keeps track of how many pages there are to find, and it was updated at the same time as the silence update. Anyways, I'm sure that there isn't anything in the comments section that will make me question absolutely everything that I know. You! You see? This is just masterful foreshadowing from Tricky Tony himself. The reason that Jockington doesn't want to use this website anymore is because he doesn't want to play Dragon Blazers. But why not, you ask? Simple. Because he knows Dragon Blazers is based on Lord of the Hammer, which is based on the prophecy. But he doesn't like the prophecy because he's working with Dr. Ding's Gaster, but that also makes him a goner? Jockington goner theory confirmed! I'm not being serious at all. Unless this ends up being right, in which case I knew everything all along. Alright, Secret Cats. Looking back, this was clearly talking about the Batat minigame, and the Rare Cats browser game is probably like an earlier version of it. There's also some talk of rain, which could mean something, but it's not guaranteed to be in Chapter 5, as this was released well after the announcement that we would only be getting Chapters 3 and 4. Going into the minigame, we can get to the Windows, Roots, More Windows, and Therapy pages, which all foreshadowed the Chapter 4 egg and how to get it. There's also Friend, which is just more evidence for Friend being a cat. Potassium. The next link is, once again, a teaser that has already been shown again in case anyone missed it the first time. Also, Spamton just so happens to call Rousey a scringly. The next link leads to a private Noelle post, where she details Chris's piano prowess, drops Lauren foreshadowing about Chris coming over to her house for the piano, and teases yet another sound file for Chapters 3 and 4, and the name of another soundtrack as well. Music to my ears. Hey, so, did Spamton tease the Rules thruple? Was this pre-planned? I feel like it would have to be. But why tease this of all things, in a way that no one would notice it was meant to be a teaser? Also, the text blurb teases the song South of the Border, so I guess this cutting board is just really important to the lore. Hold on. Spamton's gonna to be Mr. Player 3? Does this mean that Spamton will become the third entity from the now almost entirely deconfirmed third entity theory? Can Pippus multiply? Yes they can. That isn't the important part of this blog post though. This is also the page that reveals Cat Petter's circle-based art style, which has been recontextualized into even more friend cat evidence in Chapter 4. Also, I can't believe they foreshadowed until next time in this. I mean, that's a crazy thing to— oh, wait, it's a Chapter 2 song. Anyways, I wonder where the link takes us. Dang it. Next is the fungible token, which is Hilarious. After that, we even find out what the thorn ring really looks like. No, we don't. Sorry, I know that's probably pretty disappointing. What's next, though? Need proof? There lies the name of the angel with the tattered wings. We get another post from Noelle. This time not just about Chris, but about Susie as well. This post is interesting. Noelle recounts an experience where she watched Susie antagonize Chris, even getting to the point of grabbing and shouting at them. But Chris says something. We didn't know what it was then, and we still don't know what it is now. But whatever it is, Susie's mood changes completely, as she backs off and runs out the door. Afterwards, Noelle hides in her locker and is found by Chris, who doesn't seem to care. This scene is never referenced directly, and whatever Chris said was somehow startling enough to get Susie to leave them alone, yet it is still never brought up by anyone in-game. Susie never brings it up in her backstory, Noelle never brings it up when Chris and Susie come over to her house, and the game just acts as like it never happened. Also, we don't know how Chris knew Noelle was in the locker, and why they didn't seem to care. If my theory is true, this page is something that will be brought up in Chapter 5, as it's the only chapter that was planned to release in a bundle that hadn't. This seems like something to put on our bingo cards. Blink. Yeah, she sure does. So a bit of backstory. I was keeping up with this event live, as new links were being released. This lasted through the night and into the not very early morning. However, at the time of the first Spamton Sweepstakes, I was not very experienced in staying up late, unlike now, as I read the script in the early morning without having slept all night, and I involuntarily fell asleep before getting to witness the end of the event. I wish I hadn't. The link on the wedding ring page takes us to deltarune.com/damnutena, where Spamton reveals the cause of all his problems, a dastardly television-based Darkner who had caused Spamton's downfall, and is likely the real boss of Chapter 3, not Mike, who we had previously assumed. Instantly, a picture was painted of Chapter 3's main antagonist. If Spamton's word was to be trusted, he was a cruel, criminal mob boss who took everything from Spamton, with the only person associated with him that Spamton forgave being Mike. So it turns out that Spamton's word was not to be trusted, and Tena's just someone who has severe separation anxiety and abandonment issues. At this rate, the cat with the tail of hell, Image Friend, is probably going to be a friendly black cat who wants to help the heroes break the prophecy, aids the fun gang, beats up the final boss, gives Chris therapy, and donates to the Trevor Project every Tuesday. Oh, you think I'm joking? No, I'm serious, and I'm only exaggerating about those last two things. That's a theory for another day, along with my theory that the player isn't the angel, and the knight being defeated in Chapter 6. Anyways, the link on this page leads to a page full of static, which then leads to what seems to be a mock-up of the Ice Palace that someone made from memory in 30 seconds, having another link that leads to, did anyone else wander around this screen as a kid? No, Noelle, I can't see what you're talking about, because you screwed up the image file. This final Noelle post speaks of a strange door that Noelle has the ability to find in Dragon Blazers. She describes it as a cross-shaped maze, so it's safe to assume that this is the maze in the sword route. The white cloak is a representation of Noelle, the white cloak can solve the cross maze, Noelle can solve the cross maze, the two are connected. Now, this is another thing that most people thought would be endgame, because why wouldn't they? However, I'm not sure we were wrong about this one. Follow me here for a bit. See, based on some details like the original game not having turn-based combat, and featuring the Fun Gang as playable characters, one could make an argument that the original game isn't Dragon Blazers after all. However, the best argument against this is quite simple. It's just a Dark World version of Dragon Blazers. Now, Dragon Blazers is based on Lord of the Hammer, as Gerson reveals in Chapter 4, and the Lord of the Hammer is based on the Prophecy. It should be worth noting that Lord of the Hammer is not one-to-one with the Prophecy, but is instead heavily inspired by it, as Gerson describes a great smith giving the heroes a terrible weapon in Chapter 4, yet this event is entirely avoidable, meaning that it's not in the Prophecy, or else Rousey would have made a much bigger deal out of it. I'm bringing this up to clear up some confusion that I might have seen floating around, but I think it has little impact on my theory. This is because there's a very clear reason for this non-prophecy plot to be inserted into Lord of the Hammer. It's self-insert fanfiction, for lack of a better term. On the other hand, Gerson wouldn't have much of a reason to insert an ice palace into his book series, so I think we can say that there is an ice palace in Dragon Blazers because there's an ice palace in the Prophecy, which we will encounter in a later chapter, most likely 6 or 7, since out of the 3 unreleased, those are the 2 we know almost nothing about. Or the only reason there's an ice palace in Dragon Blazers is because the in-universe devs decided there should be, but that writing doesn't really pay off, and it's not like the logic I used to get to my conclusion was some utter piles of Rudy Knight's chess Chris/2 theory type logic. Hey guys, I think Toby ripped off Dragon Blazers. These OST names are literally the exact same.
Driving in my car right after.
Hey you! Do you need some fuel? Yes? Are you hungry? Do you need to eat? Have you eaten ever? I don't think that's relevant. Do you smell like shit? What? Then you need Dr. Ding's gasoline-flavored deodorant. That's right, gasoline-flavored deodorant. 20 years ago, I was driving my truck on the highway when suddenly I ran out of fuel. I contracted malnutrition and my wife was about to divorce me because I smelled like ass. Luckily, Dr. Dings was there to help me out. His patented gasoline-flavored deodorant can solve all your problems as long as those problems fall into one of 3 categories. Now, my tank and stomach are always full, my marriage is better than ever, and Dr. Dings pays me to advertise his product due to my obnoxiously loud voice. I bet this idiot would still be married if he had bought some for himself. How did you hear about gasoline-flavored deodorant? It's food, fuel, and fragrance all in one! Dr. Ding's gasoline-flavored deodorant. Unlock the friend in you! Ah! Finally, since I don't think I can reasonably cover the Spamton value network in this video, are the numbered pages. There's a link that takes you to deltarune.com/chapter 3, and some people will take this as an invitation to look at the pages for chapters 1, 2, 4, and 5. I don't need to cover this as much, since a lot of people got it right away. The first 3 chapters tell you if you can do the weird route or not, the 4th showcases that evil-ass red dot, and the 5th showcases the effects on the weird route on all chapters 1 through 5. There also used to be a survey, which also seems to be relating to the weird route. Well, that's all my energy gone. This script is way, way larger than any other script I've made, and it took a long while to get done. I want to get more videos out, but since I don't feel like going right back to script writing once I'm done with this, I might live stream my attempts at no-hitting chapters 3 and 4 like I did with 1 and 2. I haven't had nearly as much practice, the bosses will probably be a lot harder, and if I get hit on the board segments of Chapter 3, I'll have to start from the very beginning, but that just means more streams for all of you. I'll also try to make it a lore playthrough as well, so I can give my thoughts on everything since my first playthrough. My Blue Sky is linked in the description, and any updates on what I'm working on will either be there or on my community tab. Until next time!